Gregory.
Is it Ennard?
As a longtime fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, I've always taken a special interest in the different types of characters that are presented in each game. It's what I kind of based my channel on. But one thing that's always interested me in each new title is how little care Scott Cawthon actually gave into naming some of these characters. I mean, the fox is called Foxy. Take a guess at this character's name, and don't even get me started on this guy's official one. So much so that the fanbase has taken quite a few liberties in giving some of these characters fanon names that have grown so popular they'd eventually turned into official ones. Or sometimes were basically rejected altogether. So I wanted to try and present, not every single one, but a large majority of the most popular fan-made character names and if they ever eventually evolved out of their fake title. Well, not really their fake title in a sense, more so the name that fans came up with before their official name was ever. You know what I'm talking about, just get to the video. Starting with easily the most popular one. As many people know, the name Golden Freddy was never actually attributed to the character anywhere in the first game, with the only mention of any kind of name being through his internal game files, being labeled as Yellow Bear. I mean, that's true, that is what he looks like. But then, where did the name Golden Freddy actually originate from? Well, it's kind of impossible to really tell, as there are a lot of the fan-made names in this video. But the popularity of this nickname for him rose exponentially due to Markiplier's second video of his original playthrough, in which the words Golden Freddy are written and shown in both the video's title and thumbnail. The reason most don't believe that he actually coined the name is due to him using the jump scare in the thumbnail without ever actually encountering it in the video.
On the flip side. What the f***, okay?
And even though his name is referred to as Yellow Bear in both the first and even sometimes in the second game, this name became synonymous with the Easter egg. From then on, this essentially became his official name, literally as soon as the second game came out. I mean, he's literally called Golden Freddy in FNAF 2's Custom Night. But that's not the only character from the first game with a fake name. Well, he's kind of a character. Chica's plated snack is never referred to with an official name in the first game. Makes sense, he's really only seen in the office and the main stage. Eventually, fans started to refer to this little guy as Carl, and the name just kind of stuck for quite a long time. That was until Funko's officially licensed merchandise referred to him specifically as Mr. Cupcake. This seems to now be his set-in-stone official name, with the movie using this name in lots of their promotional material, even though there have been a few slip-ups. Funnily enough, one of Mr. Cupcake's actual victims in this film is directly named Carl, likely as a reference to the old nickname. And I guess if we wanted to, Phone Guy is technically also a fan-made name. Fitting, since, you know, he is the guy who talks to you on the phone, which is also only ever called out by name in any of the games in Ultimate Custom Night. With a step up from the original game's roster, of course there's going to be a few characters here without official names, at least when this game originally came out. While Phone Guy does directly refer to what is now commonly called the puppet as that puppet thing,
I'll be honest, I never liked that puppet thing.
no official name comes from the Custom Night due to the absence of the character here as a whole. That led many fans to refer to this character as both the puppet and the marionette. Now, this is where things get a little tricky, as it seems Scott kinda likes to constantly flip-flop around the usage of these two nicknames. For example, in FNAF 3, she's directly referred to as the Phantom Puppet, but is also seen in FNAF 4 as Nightmare On, and let's not forget being called the Marionette in FNAF World. It's kinda confusing, especially with FNAF World, but it seems that both names are basically synonymous with the character at this point, with the character encyclopedia directly referencing this. And, you know, the merchandise. Regarding both of the names' origins, I do remember both Corey X Genshin and Jacksepticeye using it a lot during their playthroughs, which most likely became where the name was heavily popularized.
It's Marionette.
Okay, so that's what the marionette looks like.
In the Custom Night for FNAF 2, the old versions of the original 5 animatronics are only referred to by name, unlike their new counterparts. They don't feature their withered prefix that's basically accustomed to them by now. However, back then, lots of people simply called these guys the old versions anyway, being Old Freddy, Old Bonnie, etc. However, that's not to say that fans didn't call these guys the withered animatronics as well. Many videos, even before the game actually came out, regularly called them both the old and withered animatronics.
Sort of like flying / dolphin diving into your face. I mean, I know he wants you that much, but chill, bro. Like, don't want that hug just yet.
Regarding the games, the first use of the withered prefix is featured in FNAF World, with all 4 of the withered characters being named like this in-game. As many know, Shadow Bonnie is not this character's real name. It's listed in FNAF 2's game files as RWQFSF-ASXC, which extends to their FNAF World appearance, also going by the nickname RXQ. But this didn't stop merchandising companies, specifically Funko, from using this name for their figures, Funko Pops, and other plastic garbage. Now, I definitely remember back in the day that Shadow Bonnie was the most popular name that was given to them, also going by Shadow Toy Bonnie, Dark Bonnie, Ghost Bonnie, and others kind of like that. However, Shadow Freddy on the other hand is a little different. While the game itself doesn't give this character any specific nickname of sorts, FNAF 3 onward refers to this character as Shadow Freddy in both the game files and gameplay. The origins of both of these characters' shadow prefixes for their nicknames is almost impossible to track down, but I'd say due to their dark appearances, it wasn't hard to consider these guys shadow animatronics in a sense. Besides the name Shadow Freddy, I've also seen people use names like Purple Freddy, Dark Freddy, and some other ones. And while we're still talking about Easter egg characters, I remember everyone everywhere specifically calling this character Balloon Girl. But just like RXQ, digging a little deeper in the game files reveals that this character's name is JJ, which matches with how Balloon Boy is referred to in the actual custom name. And again, this is how she's called in the series moving forward, in both FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night. Interestingly, the name Purple Guy has carried a lot of merit throughout the years. Originally just being called Man in the game files, simply having the main villain's most popular fan-made name in your game series being Purple Guy is pretty funny. Of course, a few other names occurred during this period, like Vincent or even Pink Guy due to this one sprite. But Purple Guy had stood the test of time until the release of both the Silver Eyes and Sister Location, in which both pieces of media refer to the series' main villain as William Afton. I don't know about you, but I'm very glad this was done. Because I think if I heard someone in the current year call this guy Vincent, there's a high chance I'll be put in a psych ward and you'll never see me again. For the small babies who weren't there to experience it, the hype leading up to Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was pretty insane back in the day. Especially since Scott was getting pretty antsy with the amount of teasers he was throwing at us, all somewhat featuring this never-before-seen animatronic. Besides this guy looking like, well, the coolest thing 10-year-old me had probably laid his eyes upon, very little was known about this new threat for the third game in the series. With this, and the very few images we actually had of this guy, the fanbase had conjured up a few names, with the most popular ones I remember being Hybrid, Salvage, and Golden Bonnie. The reason for names like Hybrid and Salvage was through the popular theory that this animatronic was actually created from parts of the other animatronics we'd seen in the series so far. However, this was all easily thrown in the trash when Scott released a Steam community post about the beta testing for the game officially being finished. And if you look very closely, certain words are written twice together, and they all spell out, "My name is Springtrap." Concerning Five Nights at Freddy's 4, we're given a lot of direct names for the characters present in the game's main gameplay. However, these little guys were the exception. If you didn't know, in the internal game files, Nightmare Freddy's little children that he leaves at my house on the weekends are referred to as mini monsters. The later released anniversary images of the actual models of these guys call them Mini Freddys. I'll be real, both these names don't roll off the tongue very well, so it seems that many people proposed a few new ones. I've seen names like Fredbugs, Fred, and Freddy, but the one that stuck the most was the Freddles, which seems to originate from Reddit user Mario Bros 612. After the extended use of this name by the fandom, FNAF World made this new name canon, with Nightmare Freddy's attack applicably named Freddles. Sister Location as a whole is kinda weird to talk about for fan names, since practically every animatronic's actual name was leaked before the game was released. Actually, it was basically right before this teaser image was revealed, with the only other one being this picture of Baby. There weren't a lot of names for this animatronic that stuck around this time, so... Before the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 6, which would then go on to be Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, Scott was continuing to tease the game on FNAFworld.com with a new version of what looked like Circus Baby. With this, the Freddy files seemed to give us a slightly better look at this version. More importantly, standing next to a poster of a clown with the word Freaks next to it. Putting, well, two and two together, the most popular name for this new version of Baby was Freak Show Baby, and was used a lot by the community, even Dawko during his original playthrough.
It's Freak Show Baby!
However, the end credits of the game reveals the actual name for this animatronic, being Scrap Baby. And looking literally one line under this, we also get the name for the new version of Springtrap in this game, just being called William Afton. Well, that seems like it could make things a little confusing. While most people really did just call this guy Springtrap, or I've seen Salvage Springtrap, during their original playthroughs, the name Scrap Trap started to be heavily popularized, seemingly coming from the scrap prefix used in Scrap Baby's name. This is again where it gets a little weird, as it seems Scott is very adamant in using the name William Afton to refer to this specific version of the character, as shown in both Ultimate Custom Night and the Character Encyclopedia. However, there have been a few supposed slip-ups, if you'd even call it that, which are featured on a random arcade cabinet in Security Breach, in a dev post for Ultimate Custom Night, and in a few pages in the updated Freddy files and the Ultimate Guide. Now this is something I never initially noticed, but the name Helpy was never seen when the game first dropped. It also didn't help that this little guy's name was simply Little Freddy inside the game files. As his name is never directed or told to the player, many people propose the popular fan names of Fun Size Freddy, Toy Funtime Freddy, and I've even seen the likes of Cute Time Freddy. However, different from many of these names on this list, these fan names were thrown out in service of Helpy, which was what Scott called him on a Steam discussion post 3 days after the game initially dropped. That's gotta be a world record of some kind. Outside of being directly named as the Anomaly by Tape Girl,
Today was my last day of beta testing, and the anomaly that I've been seeing is nowhere to be found.
the character most commonly called Glitchtrap has been given a wide variety of names. The most popular names going around at the time were Malhair, Virtua Rabbit, and VR Rabbit, or V Rabbit. That's how it's spelled. But when the game eventually came out, the internal game file suggested that this character's name was Spring Bonnie Man. Wait, no, maybe it's just Bunny? Or Glitchtrap? There were a lot of different names, but the one that stuck the most was Glitchtrap, with every single piece of merchandise or mention of him by Steelwool Studios being called Glitchtrap. However, I do want to note that Dawko recently said that Scott specifically called Glitchtrap a nickname for this character, so it's likely this could not be his official name just yet. So just like Sister Location, basically every important character name was leaked or shown beforehand, which basically only really leaves us with the daycare attendant, which has always been kinda confusing. Before their actual name was ever officially shown, players got an early look in the GeForce RTX reveal trailer at a poster reading Moondrop. This basically became what the Moon character was called until release, and even what some fans call them today. Applying that same knowledge, the Sun character was also Sundrop, but I've also seen others simply call that version Sunrise. Then when the game came out, it seems their official names were just Sun and Moon, and the daycare attendant as a whole, with the Moondrop and Sunnydrop posters simply being adverts for their candy. And yes, while the Blob and Burntrap are specifically mentioned in the Character Encyclopedia to be non-canon names for these characters, likely being just Tangle for the Blob, these names aren't actually fan-made. They directly originate from both of the models' file names, which are Blob, with the sound effects being named Tangle, and Burntrap, respectively. Pertaining to the rest of the games in the series, it seems Steelwool and even Scott have kinda got the whole naming thing down by now. Or at least, hopefully they do. I think it stands to show how much love this fanbase had for the games during its early stages, with basically every single character, prop, item, or Easter egg getting its own dedicated fan name. Too bad I never got to name one. You know what? Let's just go through some. No, not you, or you. Ah, here, that weird-looking hot dog from FNAF 3. I'll name it Frank. There, Frank the hot dog. Okay, is the video over yet?